Hello people of the internet, it's Samantha, and if you're new here on my channel, I usually talk about Japanese movies, dramas, entertainment. Sometimes I talk about other Asian pop culture topics as well. And for today's video, after a long while of not really talking much about dramas and movies lately, I finally found one that I enjoyed so much, enough for me to sit down and make a video about it, but I'm not sure if anyone ever really cared or paid attention to this drama at all. I'm talking about Sannin Fuufu, or Two Husbands, One Wife. It's available on Netflix. The reason why I tuned into this is because one of the main actors, Suzuki Taiga, or Gachan from IMP, is there. And when I was at Two Heroes, he was promoting it, all these things. And to be perfectly honest, while the concept of it is very intriguing because it kind of like explores polyamory, but I personally haven't really been that exposed in a lot of media that has to do with that particular topic, or I'm not sure if there's just a lot of it already that I was just not paying attention to as much, or it's because some of the ones that I've been exposed to or has gone on my radar, they're mostly focused on just the sexual aspects of it and nothing really else. But for this one, knowing how Japanese dramas are, and consider when I watched the trailer of it, I figured that it might be a nice heartwarming watch, and so that's the reason why I ended up watching it. And I really enjoyed it for reasons that I will be discussing in today's video. Now, with that said, so let's just get to it. And as I mentioned, Sannin Fuufu, or Two Husbands, One Wife, the title itself pretty much gives away, the concept of the drama itself. These are three people who are trying to get themselves into a three-person marriage. The drama kicks off with this kind of narration that in Japan, and to some extent, relatably in other parts of the world as well, marriages of convenience are already a thing. Like friends getting married, forming a family for reasons of companionship, of building a family, but not necessarily finding the right romantic partner. So getting it with someone that you're familiar with. It can be a platonic type of marriage type of thing. There's also some who are going into it because it's a lot more convenient, like a business of sorts. Some are getting into it because of just to deal with the social stigma that comes with, especially in Asian countries, of not getting married at a certain age, and just so to get that out of the way, they get married for these reasons and all these things. And it's becoming this thing that, there are still judgment towards this, or again, as I mentioned, stigma towards these types of marriages, but these are things that are already happening simply because of reasons that are practical, or just in between two people having this particular agreement, and they have the reasons as to why they're doing it. Now, after that entire explanation, we meet Mia and Shinpei. They're a couple, but they're both shown as really laid back, responsible, all these types of things. Not really in a bad sense. They're just kind of really lax people. And Mia has been wanting to get a proposal from Shinpei, but Shinpei is kind of this happy-go-lucky type of guy. He's a street dancer. He has a small fan base, but that's basically what he does as his main kind of job. And Mia thought that, bringing Shinpei to her friend's wedding might kind of spark his interest into proposing to her. Now, Mia's friend gets married, same-sex marriage, not technically legal in Japan. They made it set it in a way that, they're married on paper, but and did the whole kind of ceremony about, adopting a kid, all that stuff. And so it got me, thinking or waiting for this kind of a proposal. And then she talks to Shinpei about it. And then Shinpei suggests that maybe because he knows his own nature as well, the way that Mia is as well, kind of suggests a three-person marriage, finding a third person to kind of complete them. Maybe that was the thing. And initially, Mia thinks that Shinpei was just saying it as an excuse to not get married to her. Um, but eventually, she figures that he was serious about it, and that they actually really think about doing it. But the problem was finding a third person. And then comes Mia's ex-boyfriend Takuzo, who contacts her because their pet, kind of like they had a shared pet before, like when they were together, their pet rabbit died. And so because they, like, Mia knows the pet as well, he contacts her. And so Mia figures that maybe bringing Shinpei to or having Shinpei meet her ex might make him jealous, and so he might propose that way, all these other things. But then when she brings Shinpei with them to meet Takuzo, the two of them kind of like click as well. Takuzo and Shinpei kind of like click as well. Shinpei is just this really kind, bright person, and so like all the differences between Mia and Takuzo and why they break up and all these other things, it kind of like they just complement each other as the three of them. And at the end of the episode, they propose to Takuzo that what if, they engage in this three-person marriage, and they do it as a trial. Obviously, it confuses Takuzo, and that's pretty much like how the story starts. Is these three people kind of like trying to navigate this relationship, that they're trying to see if it works out between the three of them. It talks about how like how the relationship between each other kind of like works, the stigma when it comes to Mia as a woman when they went on a vacation and she's seen with like two guys with her. With Takuzo, mostly he's very timid, and he's very passionate, but at the same time he has trouble kind of like expressing his feelings. And I think with Shinpei, the thing with him is that he's kind of like the one who ties them together, but at the same time, he also has his own like insecurities, seeing kind of like this connection and relationship and understanding between Mia and Takuzo. So again, that's the entire like how they're trying to navigate this. Is they work as three, but there are obviously challenges that come with that, like them dealing with, again, this thing of, they didn't really like focus on it entirely, but with Takuzo kind of like navigating this attraction with Shinpei, because he's only been with girls before, but he also loves Mia, and that kind of like awkwardness in relationship between him and Shinpei, like how does that work? With Mia, she's also kind of like confused as to how, like, she's so fixated in herself and how she's gonna deal with the relationship of these two guys, that she also kind of like missed up them. The two of them should, like, Shinpei and Takuzo should also have a relation, like this kind of like relationship. So it's really really interesting. They did kind of like cover the sexual aspects of it, obviously, like how it's gonna work between the three of them. But what's amazing about the story, it's more of a found family type of situation, rather than it just focusing on the physical aspects of the relationship or anything like that. There are three adults, so it really focused a lot on the struggles that come with that, like the judgment, there's the idea that people are mistaking Takuzo as gay because he's very timid, he's very organized and all these other things. But there's this thing of, just because a person is like that, that doesn't necessarily put them into this particular stereotype. Or with Mia, she initially was very very selfish, just thinks of herself, just wants things to work out for her without regard to the other person. But she eventually learns to care for these other two people beyond herself. And with Shinpei, he is kind of like the positive force in this entire thing, like tying things together. But he also has his insecurities that he's dealing with. He also has his struggles of trying really hard to kind of like tie this entire setup together, all these things. And with the three of them, it's also them trying to like navigate how to explain this to the people in their lives, trying to think about how it is when it comes to them wanting children or wanting a family, and who's going to be the father, like all those other things. What would other people say? What would the child like like be brought up to? All those stuff. And they obviously, like, with the limited number of episodes, around 10 episodes, 11 episodes, and then just a 20-minute runtime per episode, there are a lot of things that they could have like digged deeper into. But given the time frame that this drama has, they really were able to like flesh out and explore these three characters, more so Shinpei and Takuzo rather than Mia. But also there's just um but again, they did pretty well in terms of just like portraying these three people trying to navigate the relationship of being in this three-person marriage, and like the struggles of it. It feels it's just a very enjoyable watch, in my opinion. It's very heartwarming in a sense, like it's also very funny, but they treated it with care. And I like that. Again, I like that they didn't just focus on the sexual aspect of it at all. Like they did, and they were very open in terms of the three characters, like talking about how they're gonna do it, what does it mean for each of them, all these stuff. But it was treated in a very, very mature, and also in a very, like, not in a way to just bait people into it, you know. So I find that really, really interesting, especially when it comes to the characters of Takuzo and Shinpei. um like, obviously with Mia, it was a given that she was in a relationship with these two guys, like before and at the present, and that's understandably why the buildup was more so creating this relationship between Shinpei and Takuzo in the end, and then showing that Mia um also redevelop this kind of like relationship with Takuzo, because again, they were ex-lovers before, that she's already with Shinpei, so there's really not a lot to show for them being affectionate. But given again the runtime of the drama, they did so well in terms of just like creating that very heartwarming atmosphere of these people forming a family and finding a family with each other. Another thing that I really, really like is with their characters, given the situation that they have, Shinpei is often just the one who's very forward. With Mia and Takuzo, there's always like a wall that they're trying to put up, or they're very hesitant. They try to run away or try to like navigate situations in a way that's either convenient for them or something that they're not going to get hurt, or all that. But even like the experiences that were in the story, especially in the last episode with Takuzo's mom, um it kind of like reminds people in general, people who are watching, that at the end of it, there might be judgment, there might be problems that would arise in the end, but you will never know unless you dive into the decision and commit to it and actually do it. um Another aspect of it that I like is this friendship between Tenma and Takuzo. Tenma is Takuzo's workmate. She's a girl, he's a guy. So, but initially they said that it's purely platonic between the two of them. I was already expecting that there was gonna be something that will happen in the plot. And spoilers, Tenma kind of like asked Takuzo to be in this to try a friendship marriage or a trial with her, just so they can avoid like the stigma altogether of of them being at an age of being single, whatever. And they get along really well. They both love Legos, and they do that as their kind of like hobby as friends um after work. uh I wish they could have like just stuck with that, because I'm not sure if I got the nuance of it correctly, that to some extent within that particular trial, Tenma kind of like fell for Takuzo a little bit, or that was just kind of like a hint of jealousy in terms of the relationship or the friendship that Takuzo developed with Mia and Shinpei. I'm not sure. I think I have to rewatch that part. But I just didn't really like, I hope that they just made them completely platonic through and through without the whole like friendship marriage type of thing. But it was something that was already very predictable that they were gonna jump into, especially introducing a character like Tenma. But I really like the episodes where they just kind of like talk about, it's possible to be friends in that particular level and just have a level of understanding and um commonality with someone that is particularly platonic. I like that they didn't really have a major villain just to create tension in the story, because again, just the concept of these three people trying to navigate a three-person marriage out of all the other things that's already happening with them is conflict enough. And so creating some kind of like crazy ass drama to drive the plot just wouldn't help anything. I like that for the storyline when it comes to Shinpei's brother, he wasn't really the villain that I think was kind of like seeded into the narrative initially, but he was just trying his best as well. Like all of these characters, they're just trying their best to live their lives and just to have that level of happiness. And I think overall that's like the beauty of it. It's, again, it's funny, but it's also heartwarming. It talks about, how um what it means to kind of like love someone and to also kind of like find family and connection when it comes to these people, and to not run away from things just because they're scary, or just because people are expecting this other thing from you, or all those stuff. And it's okay to express yourself in a way that makes you feel you, and you will find like people who will accept you for who you are. And it's okay to accept that you have shortcomings, um because that doesn't necessarily make, like, it doesn't mean that another person will make you whole. But there's nothing wrong with kind of like finding people that complement who you are, and that's such a good kind of like message in that particular drama. And I really enjoyed it, and I really find it funny, and I like the soundtrack as well. It's Cheek to Cheek by IMP, so I really enjoyed that. And yeah, again, I don't think anyone cared about this drama as much as I did, and I didn't think that I would also enjoy it as much as I did, but I did, and I was really happy that I was able to watch it. I think I've only seen like a couple of reviews of it somewhere, which is cool. And I think a lot of people also found it very positive in a sense. And so, yeah, if you're looking for something to watch on Netflix that is kind of like chill, kind of like quirky, but at the same time it's fun, and also a little bit of heartwarming, and just generally enjoyable. Like none of the characters are completely obnoxious or would throw you off or anything. They're just kind of like fun characters who are just dealing with things. Then this is probably like a watch for you. And there's really no harm in kind of like binging it, because again, as I mentioned, just a couple of episodes, not more than 13 episodes, 20 minutes max per episode. So yeah. Now, with that said, so if you've seen this drama, plan to see this drama, all those other stuff, tell me down in the comments below. As usual, we can chat it out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you again soon in a new one. Bye!